Hello guys, warm and welcome. Welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome to On Level Ground, where we simply, sincerely and frankly speak about the Word of God, share our faith and speak our hearts. My name is Esther, warm and welcome from me. And today I'm here to talk to you guys again, chit chat about a certain season. And it's a hard season. I'm saying that out of experience and I'm speaking out of my pain. Pain that has subsided, pain that, to be honest, I have gotten used to, but pain that is also no more. Yeah. And it's a roller coaster of so many different emotions this season. And it is, as you probably can see the title already, I want to talk to you guys today about the waiting season. The waiting season. It deserves a deep sigh. The waiting season deserves a deep sigh. The waiting season is such an interesting season, to say the least. Yeah. It's so weird. I know this video isn't going to be that long. And my plan is to actually really just share with you guys a couple of things that I learned in the waiting season. And I'm still somewhat in it, but I felt like I should just share with you a couple of things that I really have learned. And I was, yesterday while writing down the bullet points, I was tempted to write down things that I have heard from others already, but I really just tried to focus on the things that I felt I learned from this season. And I want to share it with you guys. There's so many things, there's a mouthful. There's so many things you could speak about this season, and just thinking back on the things that I went through with the Lord, it's crazy. But yeah, I just want to give you a couple of bullet points and elaborate on those, and I hope it helps. So let's get into it directly. Point number one. The first thing I wrote down is emotions. Let me not ruin this, okay? The first thing I wrote down is emotions are to be processed, not dismissed. And this may sound unusual, like why the heck is she saying that? Why is that her first point? And by the way, I did not put this into a certain, I did not prioritize a point over the other, or I'm not starting with this because this is the most important point, but I'm starting with this because this was just one of the first things that really came to my mind. And I just noticed, the waiting season, it's not, guys, you're going to see me sigh so many times in this video because there's so many things I would love to even express that I know I can't. Because the very unique thing about the waiting season is that your answers, you don't, as much, I have experienced this so often, but as much as you want answers to certain things, oftentimes it's the why and the how questions. And you click on a video believing that person has the solution, has the answer, and they don't. Because every waiting season is unique, that's one. And secondly, the answers for most of the deep questions that you have about the waiting season or in the waiting are found in the waiting. They're found in the journey. Sometimes you will look back on the journey and be able to see this was the answer. The answer to your questions are the journey itself. And I know that's really unsatisfying to hear. And it can be really frustrating, but it really is that. I don't even know how to express this, but I don't know if you know that feeling, but I experienced that oftentimes as well, that I was looking for an answer or something particular, and it's like you're getting scraps or just little pieces of the cake from people that had experienced the waiting season, but it has to come together. So the weight and the value of what you're actually looking for to satisfy that questioning, that lack of understanding that you're trying to fill with whatever you're looking for. I don't know if I'm the only one that feels that way or if you also feel that way. There is a reason why I think we are not easily satisfied with just the simple bullet points kind of solutions and tips and advice that people give us, because I think it's really this understanding is satisfied through the understanding that you receive in the journey. I think this understanding is satisfied through the maturity that you gain in the journey. I think it's satisfied through the journey itself. The journey is the destination. That is really the thing with one of the things I've really learned and had to learn with the waiting season. But coming back to the point, emotions are to be processed and not dismissed. I think one of the reasons people can get stuck or feel like they are stuck in the waiting is believing that they have to feel a certain way at a certain point in time. Like I remember, for myself at least, that there are emotions that would turn up that were new to me, and I would feel that it is acceptable for me to bring those before God. And there were other emotions that kept coming back. Frustration, sometimes resentment, or just this exhaustion. And sometimes I would really, this inner critical voice would, I would speak to myself through that voice and kind of, because I believed that I had to be at a certain point at this time, and because I had gone through those emotions so many times that I wasn't allowed to go through them again. But it was really, really important to acknowledge where I was weak and where that weakness remained, and that in that weakness, the Lord was expecting me, and the Lord wanted me, the Lord needed me to come to him with those emotions, because they were signalizing where I was weak and where he had to uphold me, where he had to strengthen me, and where I had to put my trust in who he is. Again, and I say again because it was just, I had to do it again and again and again. And it was really hard. Sometimes you're just also tired of the fact that you are always feeling weak. But it's okay. The waiting is really going to stretch you. And when you believe you have been stretched to the max, you will be stretched again. That is the waiting season. So it is really, it's a crazy season. It's a crazy season because there's so many things that change within you that in the beginning, I don't think are even are inexpressible. I think in the beginning, I think it really takes time to even understand what you've learned on the journey. The journey is the solution, but to even understand the journey, it takes time. It takes time to realize that. So the journey is really oftentimes just what you should concentrate on, and what I believe is really important is allow ourselves to feel what we feel and bring this before God. Because in the waiting season, one of the purposes of the waiting season is intimacy. It is to draw near to God, and to draw near to God again and again. It proves dependency. It proves trust. It creates trust and dependency. So allow your emotions to be a place, an opportunity for you to draw near to God. And it's okay to do it again and again. Like sit there with him. Yeah, sit there with him, and sometimes just process. Sometimes just allow yourself, and don't be scared of the ugliness of your emotions, because that's something I also felt. Sometimes some emotions will come up and I'll be like, wow, that's ugly. But I had to allow myself to feel it. You guys would be surprised by the roots of your emotions. Oftentimes we always think, oh no, this is how I feel, and this is just me, and da da da. But the roots of your emotion, like why? The most interesting conversations I had with the Lord were the conversations in which I brought an ugly emotion before him, or emotion that I considered ugly, and then he just started tracking it down through my thoughts and experiences and things that he was bringing back to my mind. He started tracking it down until we came to the roots, and I understood that there was something much deeper at the root of this emotion. And we were allowed to sit there together, and I had the opportunity to share such an intimate moment with him. So I really, really strongly recommend you guys to, allow your emotions to be an opportunity and a place of encounter with the Lord. So the second point that I want to get to is, reading from my notes, I wrote down, we were not created to be unfulfilled while a desire is not yet fulfilled. Let me explain this, because the waiting season is always personal, and it really is personal. Why I'm saying that is, the promise that the Lord gives you is not random. The promise will always reveal a part of your purpose. It always will. So when the Lord chooses a particular desire to then allow you to contend for, allow you to develop hope for, to then give you a promise for that, and therefore create a waiting season for you to reach that point. It is not by coincidence. Like that particular desire that he has picked to speak a promise over always points to the desire of your heart, which is an expression of your purpose and within God's will. Perfect example is Abraham. Abraham, first of all, the promise that the Lord gave to Abraham was that he was going to give him a child. He was going to give him a child from his own body, of his own blood, and of the wife that he had, which was within God's will. Within God's will, because God said in Genesis 1, be fruitful and multiply. So this was a command. This was something that the Lord wants us to do, as far as you can. And as far as you've been called to, he calls us to be fruitful and multiply. But then if we even look at Abraham's identity closer, we understand Abram, for example, Abram, before he was renamed, means exalted father. It has to do with becoming a father, right? And then even the renaming from Abram to Abraham means father of many nations. So it was always about this. It was always about him in a deeper way than Abraham understood probably at the beginning. It was about him becoming a father. Him becoming a father physically was just a reflection of him becoming a father spiritually. But the Lord wanted to fulfill that promise in both ways. So that promise spoke to a deeper purpose that Abraham had and that Abraham would have, and an importance that he would carry as the father of his son and the father of many nations and all those who would choose to have faith in God. So it always speaks to a deeper part of you. So that is why the waiting season sometimes it really feels like you're being stretched to the max. It feels like this desire can overwhelm you. It's easy to be overwhelmed by this desire because it is a part of you, and it's a part of you that the Lord wants to fulfill. It's a part of you that is necessary to be fulfilled. So it really does communicate a lot about your purpose and who you are. And at the same time, it is not all of who you are. That is something I really had to learn. It is not the promises that the Lord gives you. You are more than that. And the thing I found, sometimes we fall into this lie because I thought for myself, I was waiting for multiple promises in different areas of my life. So then sometimes it feels like, if you were just waiting for one promise, that would be a different thing. But if you're waiting for multiple promises, then it really is my life, right? And even then, it is not. It is really not. It's so hard to slip into that lie, but it is not true. As I said, we were not created to be unfulfilled while a desire is not yet fulfilled. That desire and that promise or the multiple promises that you have received are still not all that you are. That means there is still joy in your life. There are still opportunities and ways in which you would feel fulfillment. There are opportunities and ways in which you will get to know yourselves on deeper levels and be able to, the Lord will give you outlets in which you can speak and in which you can express yourself. And just as you are recognizing who you are, he will give you outlets to, express that and use the gift that he has given you and the talents that he has put into you. So not even only minimizing that to the talents and the gifts that the Lord has put into you, but just who you are, right? You can experience joy and you can experience peace while you're waiting. You will experience peace and joy while you're waiting. And even though that part of you is not yet fulfilled and it's a deep part of you that should be fulfilled, it is okay to feel that very strongly on certain days, but to also know that that is not all that you are. Yeah. I'm not going to try to reword it. I think I can't do it better than that, but I really hope that you guys understand what I'm saying. The last thing I want to say is be expectant, but don't have expectations. Why is it so loud today? I really hope you guys are not hearing this. So be expectant, but don't have expectations. I'll try to explain the difference. Being expectant means to be in a position with open hands, saying, okay, here are my hands, Lord, and I am expecting for something to happen. I'm expecting that you will show up. I'm expecting that the word that you have sent out will not return unfulfilled. I am expecting you to show up in a grand way. Ephesians 3:20, exceedingly abundantly above all that I may ask or think. Like, I am expecting you to show up in this grand way, and it's okay. To be expectant is to be there in a posture ready to receive. That is what it means to be expectant. But to have expectations is to limit what you're expecting by your perception. That means you expect things to happen in this time, or you expect things to happen this type of way. You expect things to show up in this type of way, whatever, a particular type of way. But those expectations that you have will limit the moving of God, because you have to remember that the promise is, as I just explained, it does hint to a part of your purpose. But the reason he's giving you the promise is to draw him near to you, to prepare your identity for the purpose you're about to walk into. And the promise is there to glorify God. The promise is there to glorify God. And even the manifestation of that promise, the Lord will use to glorify himself. He really is going to use even how this promise will manifest to tell you and show you that he is God. And he will use it to show you that he is God in ways that you cannot even comprehend. I love even that verse, Jeremiah 33:3, that says, call unto me and I will answer you. The promise is a call, Jesus Christ. The promise is a call. It is a call. It is a call out of hope, out of faith. It is a call. And the Lord said, I will answer you and I will show you great and mighty things that you do not comprehend. Great and mighty things that you cannot see, that you cannot comprehend. These things I will show you. The promise is the same way. The promise is an outlet that he uses to manifest himself in a way so that people can understand more of who he is. Yeah. And I love that about him. We need to walk more in humility to understand that if we are okay with being humble and just sometimes surrendering things more to God and just being more patient not for the sake of, that's, convincing ourselves sometimes that, that's how, I need to wait this long because, he's just setting everything up for the promise to come to pass in this and this and this grand way. But sometimes you're just waiting, not because the promise is not ready, but because the promise is not ready to be manifested in a way that will glorify God. And we just need to be humble enough to swallow that pill sometimes. To just allow God to be God. And allow God to be God through our lives. So yeah, that's it, guys. I know it's a bit hard, but it's important. And I think when you come to terms with that, you walk in freedom. That's always the case. Understanding truth allows you to walk in freedom. So yeah, that's it, guys. That's all I have to say today. Yeah, I hope this blessed you and I wish you a great day. Stay blessed and see you next time.